pop-up campers? Welcome back to It's Poppin'. So of course, in this video, and I'm sure you're super excited to learn how to do this, but in this video, we're going to re-grease or re-lubricate our Dexter Easy Lube axle bearings. So the last two pop-up campers we've owned, actually three I should say, have had the Dexter Easy Lube axles. Now, if you have an older pop-up camper, unfortunately, you might have to manually repack your bearings. So there's a lot of great videos out there, and that's how I learned to do it, on how to manually repack. But it's definitely, compared to the Dexter Easy Lube system, significantly messier, and also takes quite a bit more time. However, the benefit of redoing that manually is that you have the opportunity to inspect your bearings, make sure they're in good condition. Whereas on these Dexter Easy Lube bearings, when you're repacking them via the grease zerk, you're not, you don't have the opportunity exactly to inspect those bearings. But there are a few things you can do to kind of make sure that your bearings are in good condition without having to remove them. So as many of you know, we just got a new to us 2008 Jayco high wall that we're getting ready to renovate. And of course, part of that is making sure it's good and roadworthy, if you will, before we take it out camping. And also we have a 2008 Starcraft that we'll probably be getting ready to sell shortly. So I want to make sure that both of them have repacked bearings. As far as what you'll need for this project, of course you'll need some grease. Now we use a this high temp grease. Make sure you specifically get a high temp application grease, not just a normal grease like you might use on your lift system or something like that. It's normally like $4 to $6, so it's not too bad. And in my experience, one 14-ounce tube such as this has gotten me through the entire job. So both bearing hubs on each side of the camper. Then of course you'll need a grease gun such as this. This one of course fits those 14-ounce grease tubes perfectly, and this connects right onto the zerks and you're good to go. Finally, you're going to need some sort of method of lifting up your pop-up camper. So of course I like using a floor jack in conjunction with some jack stands. You can use a bottle jack or any other jack, strongman, whatever you have at your disposal to get that camper wheel up and off the floor. I make sure I lift on the solid trailer frame that's a little bit further in on the camper, unlike this far edge, which is actually just a C-channel that is not as strong as that far channel. So now that we've got the tire up and off the ground, couple of options that you might run into. So for example, in the Jayco here, as you might be able to see, we have to take off this, I guess, hubcap, if you will. That's simply taking a screwdriver to it. Now, for example, on the Starcraft over here, you have direct access to the Dexter Easy Lube axles. There's nothing that you have to remove. However, and I think I encountered this on the Palomino. The Palomino had some hub covers that required you to remove the entire wheel to gain access to the Dexter Easy Lube axle hub. So you might run into a few different things there, but nevertheless, it's pretty straightforward after that. So now just a simple flathead screwdriver, and you can pop off these rubber gaskets that prevent dirt and grime from getting into your grease there. Now, take this opportunity to kind of double check the condition of these seals, because, for example, and these were on the Starcraft, they were kind of, cracking, and obviously this one had a big hole through it. So take that opportunity to double check these and replace them if necessary. as you can see, we've got some significantly darker grease coming out compared to the new red grease. So I think we're getting pretty close to completely repacking these. Sometimes I think it's a little hard to tell the difference between the shades of red, but I think we're getting pretty close. This is actually looks pretty good to me. It looks like we're kind of back to our normal new red grease. And of course I just have to use numerous paper towels, but eventually we get cleaned up. And then of course we'll throw our seal right back in there. It kind of just presses back in. Okay, so from my understanding, there's 3 ways you can check the condition of your wheel bearings without actually pulling them out and physically inspecting them. The first one is to, once again, lift up your wheel just like we did and give the wheel kind of a side-to-side shake and see how much play there is in that wheel. It should be less than, let's say, like 1/8 of an inch or thereabouts. So as long as there's not too much play, you're probably good to go. The second way you can check them is, of course, by driving by somebody who's outside, of course, your vehicle, and having them listen to or for any sounds that might be coming from your pop-up camper wheels or wheel bearings in this case. So, you know, listening for any unusual sounds that might be coming from them. About 25 miles per hour or thereabouts, of course, on each side. And then the final way that you can check is to actually go on a decent trip. Let's say, I think about 10 miles or so at highway speeds. Then of course pulling off and checking the heat coming out of or radiating out of your wheel hubs. Now my understanding is that if you can hold your hand or back of your hand on your hubs, they're okay, they're not too hot. But if it's too hot to the touch, essentially, that could indicate that your wheel bearings are bad, or it might just mean that, of course, you need to repack those bearings like we just did today, get some fresh grease in them. So those are 3 ways you can check it, of course, without pulling off the entire wheel and checking the whole assembly. So that's it for this side. It's the exact same process for the other side. So we'll just essentially rinse and repeat and we'll be all done. So that's repacking your Dexter Easy Lube bearings. Pretty simple, pretty easy. I think anybody can do it as long as you have a few of the proper tools. And from what I've read, the recommended interval to do this is at least yearly or somewhere around 10,000 miles. I've seen 8, I've seen 10, maybe 12. So I don't think we get anywhere near 10,000 miles a year on our pop-up. So I tend to just do it yearly and we haven't had any problems. As always, hopefully we see you in the next video. If not, hopefully we see you out there camping. Ow, no.